It's another edition of the KSL Sports Front Row. Jeremiah Jensen, Stevenson Sylvester, Sam Farnsworth with you once again. We got a great show planned for you. We got McCay Hilsted coming up, a great conversation with him. Back in Logan as the starting quarterback at Utah State. We're also going to do a little this or that. And we're going to talk about the Jazz schedule release, some interesting things to look out there. But you know what season it is. It's college football season.
Let's do it.
And Sly's really excited about this because we got another poll to talk about. Poll alert. It's the AP Top 25 Preseason Poll is out. And here is how it shakes out. Number one, Ohio State, Oregon. You know, you're looking down the poll, and it's interesting. It's a little top-heavy with the Big Ten, which they certainly deserve. And then you get into the SEC teams. Texas rounds out the top five. Of course, Notre Dame in there as well. BYU opponent, big opportunity for BYU coming up in October in that game. The defending national champions, Indiana at 6. And then you go on another run after Miami for some SEC teams before you get to the first Big 12 team, Texas Tech at number 12. BYU comes in at 14. Tied with USC for that number 14 spot. Utah, number 21. Guys, very similar to the coaches poll. We discussed that earlier this summer about what we thought about that, whether BYU and Utah were overrated or underrated. I just want to get your takes real quick before we get into the overall overrated, underrated of the top 25. Where do you like BYU or not like BYU and Utah sitting right now? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, these polls suck. No, just kidding. No, I actually think I'm actually very neutral with these polls right now. I think that how you play it, normal blue bloods, how normal people do the polls, it's very traditional how it goes here. I don't like it because you don't know what these teams got, especially in the world of transfers. You don't know what it is. And I think you should only be rated based off of what you've shown. And if you haven't shown chemistry or a team together, how are you being rated? So that's why I don't like polls before week 3 when all the exhibition games, you actually get to see the product on the field and all this other things. But for me, I think BYU is actually, BYU and Utah, I think they're right where they should be, right? I think that they're right in the mix from what they've shown in the past year. BYU could possibly be higher. Utah, I think, is right where they should be. Room to grow, room to show exactly what they are. There's going to be games where they're king. There's other people that's going to fall off. You know, you get around that week 7, week 8, where upset alert all the time happens. Yeah. So I kind of like their positioning right now, but I think it's room to grow. But there's all kinds of stuff at the top where there's just Big 12 hate all over the place. I think Texas Tech should definitely be higher.
Always is a little bit of a bias. I don't want to say against the Big 12, but certainly for the SEC and the Big 10. There's no doubt about that.
No question.
And you know, polls are polls. We had this conversation before. Even if they didn't come out with these polls now, even if they pushed them off till week 3, week 4, guess what? We would probably have our KSL Sports Top 25 anyway. There would be a poll out there somewhere for us to discuss and talk about.
As long as you know it's fun, right?
Right. It gives us something to talk about, gives fans something to talk about, and generates that excitement for the college football season. However, it also, in my opinion, kind of sets the stage for some of these teams to make a run at the polls that actually matter, right? It puts them in a place where they can compete and contend and prove if that's what they're worth or if they're worth more or less. And then when the actual polls that matter come out, the college football playoff polls, there's kind of a baseline to draw off. So BYU at 14, Utah at 21, whether you like those spots or not, they're in a position where they are on the national stage to begin the season. They can then promote themselves by winning football games, right? But they're in the conversation, and that's where they need to be.
I just hate how much influence this does have on other polls, right?
It does.
You're giving some of these top 10 teams the ability to lose 2 or 3 games and still be in the mix at the end of the year, right?
Yes.
Instead of somebody who is undefeated and then they get on the cusp or like, oh, they started so low, right? What if everybody was just in the middle and you didn't start those polls until week 3 or 4 where you're actually able to see everybody's work? So that's why I don't like it, because there is implications from this list to the college football playoff.
You're exactly right, and that's why this does matter, because this will impact the college football playoff rankings. Don't listen to the guys in this little room to deciding what the first college football playoff rankings are. They're going to look at the AP poll and they're going to take those teams and try to figure it out from there. But they're going to start with that AP top 25 poll. I'm sorry, that's what they do. If you look at the first college football playoff rankings, they look almost identical to the AP top 25 at that point in the season. So if you're BYU and Utah and your aspiration is to make the college football playoff, you got to start here.
Right.
BYU's got to start at 14. By the way, this is the highest preseason ranking for BYU since 1985.
Yeah.
This is only the 9th time that Utah's ever been ranked in the top 25 preseason. That's hard to believe, right? As good as Utah's been, this is just the 9th time in school history. That shows you how high or how hard BYU and Utah have had to climb to get into the national conversation based on that first preseason top 25 poll. And if you're at 14 and you're 21, it's a lot easier to climb up that ladder when it comes in October when those first college football playoff rankings come out. So that's why this is huge for both BYU and
Aren't there
Utah.
some voters who don't even care or so don't even know what they're doing?
Well, there's voters. I would imagine that a lot of these votes that they are
some exposed.
There's
And
got to
so
be
they
some
look
regional
at
bias.
this AP 25 list, and that goes into their vote, and they're got college football playoff votes. So the people that don't know, there's coaches polls. We talked about this too, where the coach is just like, I ain't got time to vote. Somebody just fill this out for me, right? These pre-slated stuff, they go off of these polls. So yes, I think it does matter. Unfortunately, I hate them being this early, but this is where everybody's looking like, oh, okay, I'm here in the top 25. I get to week 7. I haven't really paid attention to Notre Dame. I really haven't paid attention to Miami and how much they're actually not as good as these preseason polls have taken. But all I know is like they were ranked this high before. They must still be good because they won by 1 point against Alabama A&M, right? Like, I think these things matter. Unfortunately, they start in the preseason. So this is my vex.
Okay.
Well, what really grinds my gears?
We need to do a whole segment on what grinds Sly's gears. We'll have to save that for a later episode. But now, you grind your gears away right now.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the preseason poll.
Right.
We can decide who we think is overrated and underrated right now, and I'm looking at it. I'll give you guys the first shot at this because I've got my ideas as well, and one of them is a local team. So I'll let you go, Sly, first. Who do you think is the most overrated and underrated in the first preseason poll?
Well, I mean, it all goes through. As I said, I think this is actually a pretty accurate deal. I'm going based off of what the ending of last year was and how it is. If you look at Miami's schedule, they have one game, which is Notre Dame, all the way in November. That means anything. Otherwise, the ACC is boo-boo. Right, and so you can look at that and be like, why are they ranked so high? They don't play anybody. Of course, they're going to do X, Y, Z, right? That can go into play with all of these schedules and all this stuff. But for me, I'm not that big of a believer in CJ Carr, right? I don't think that Notre Dame is a top 5 team, right?
Wow.
And so I think that they're high. I don't think they should be out of the top 15, but I don't think that they should be as high as 5 or in that top 5 category.
Number 4,
right? And I think that I think they're high. I think Miami's high. Indiana. We just don't know. I'm a big believer in Josh Hoover. I like that, and I think if you're in the right situation with the right coaching staff, you can make the right things happen. And Indiana has a nice schedule this year, so on and so forth. It could definitely fit in there.
So you think Notre Dame's your most overrated team?
I do. Out of the top 10, I would definitely. I think that they're a little high. Right? They have a lot of people coming back, whatever, all this stuff. But I'm not that big of a believer in them.
Who's your underrated?
My underrated is Texas Tech. Right? They have so many people coming back.
That's great.
Right? Their backup quarterback who is coming back is a starter. Right? He puts up great numbers when he's playing. I think that they have a schedule. They have the history to prove themselves to be more of a top 10 team than all the way down at 12. Right, I don't think that they're getting the respect that they should as far as these other top 7 teams. They should definitely be in that top 8, top 7 conversation instead of all the way back at 12, which again puts them at the cusp, right, of that college football playoff that we were so vexed about last year. All these cusp teams between Miami, Notre Dame, Alabama, BYU, Utah, and Texas Tech being in that cusp. That, of course, as we said, these stuff has implications on the end of last year. I think Texas Tech should be a little higher. Give a little bit more love to
I
Big
don't
12.
love Notre Dame's quarterback, but I love everything else. That defense is scary good.
Yeah.
I think they're.
Hey, man, I've been a
which
part
is
of
good for
teams
BYU. I think they're every bit the top 5 team. They got 6 first-place votes. We'll see about that. But
That's
maybe
why
you're
the
right.
quarterback position is so important, though.
What team always disappoints the most when it comes to top 10 outside of Texas? It's Notre Dame, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's always those seasons they have.
Yeah, and when it comes to overrated, I agree with a lot of what you said about Miami. They're one of those teams on my list. I think
the national championship game last year.
They were. I feel like they're kind of making their way through a conference that I don't know.
Does that benefit them, though?
Well, yes, it benefits them in the long run.
You're looking at just SMU and Louisville are the only teams in that league that are worth a darn.
It could benefit them, but also expose them when they get get to the potential playoff
game against Notre Dame.
being exposed as well, right? So,
and because they're rated so high, they have one loss against a highly ranked Notre Dame team as well.
Right.
They're not going to drop far.
You're right, exactly. And if they run the table in the ACC, right, they'll be right there again. But I'm going to go with an SEC team because there's a lot of overrated teams in the SEC. But I'm going to go with Texas A&M. And are they a top 10 team? I think there's an argument to be made that maybe they shouldn't be. They lost a ton of production from their team. 15 of their 22 starters last year are not back. They have new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. So there's shakeup, right? What does their depth look like from last year? How will that fill the gaps that are left behind? How will the transfer portal help this team continue to pick up where they left off? I don't know that Texas Tech is a top 10 team right now mostly for those reasons there. Plus, they've got a really brutal schedule. I go back to schedule kind of exposing a team. The SEC an SEC schedule will either expose or elevate a team pretty quickly. And I think for Texas A&M, they'll get exposed in the SEC play pretty quickly this year.
I think bullseye on Texas A&M. I think they are overrated. New coordinators, Texas at home, but they got Oklahoma, LSU, and Alabama on the road. Mm-hmm. If those are 4 losses, that's not a playoff team.
No.
And right now where they're ranked, that says they're a playoff team. I think they're way overrated. Did you have an underrated team?
Underrated team. I also like Texas Tech, but I'm going to, I'll mix it up a little bit. For me, I think, look, I'm not trying to be the homer here.
You are wearing a little blue today.
Hey.
But look, BYU's right there with Texas Tech. If Texas Tech is underrated, I believe BYU is also an underrated football team. They return very similar amounts of their productivity from last year. We've spoken at death at how much talent's coming back for both of those teams, but for BYU at quarterback, at running back, on the defensive front, there's so much to be said about, I think, the SEC Big Ten bias or anti-bias towards the Big 12.
Right.
These are 2 teams. I think Texas Tech should be a top 10 team right now. I think BYU should be hovering between 10 and 12 right now. There's multiple teams ahead of them that I could see those teams, BYU and Texas Tech, being ranked ahead. However, what I do like, especially about BYU, is they do have a schedule to prove that they belong there, especially early on with that Notre Dame game.
What does a win for Michigan versus Oklahoma week 2, right? What does that do for that team?
Which team?
Michigan Wolverines.
Michigan beats the top 10 team.
Yeah,
Michigan beats Oklahoma, but check this
Oklahoma.
out. Michigan's schedule, I know I'm a Coach Witt guy. I love my Coach Witt, and that's great. But their schedule is actually really nice. They got 8 home games, right? And their 4 away games isn't until the latter part of the season. And who has the biggest home field advantage in all of college sports has to be the crowd that can fit 110, 112,000 people.
It is the big house.
Right? And so you got Oklahoma coming in. If they get that win that week, that'll set them up. One, because I'm not a big believer in the Big Ten, right? I think the Big Ten is extremely top-heavy, right? They've gotten a couple more teams with the additions of the schools from Oregon, USC, Washington to help strengthen that conference. But for the majority of the part, that conference is not great except for your Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan's, right? And so I think if Michigan can get that win at Oklahoma, that'll set them up to be a top 10 football team throughout the rest of the year.
So you have 2 underrated. You're going to go with Michigan if they can beat Oklahoma early on in the season.
Correct.
I said already I like Texas A&M. I like Texas Tech as an underrated. So I'm going to go away from some of those you guys picked. My overrated team in the top 15, USC. Every year we talk about, the Trojans are going to be good. When under Lincoln Riley have they overachieved? Not once. And I'm looking at their schedule. They're going to go against Oregon at home. Okay, Oregon's a juggernaut. You're not beating Oregon. I don't care where you play them. You're going to go against Washington at home. I'll get to Washington in a second. At Penn State, I think Matt Campbell's going to have that thing going well enough.
That's back-to-back weeks.
That they can beat USC. I'm not done, by the way. At Wisconsin's not going to be easy. I think the Badgers are going to be better. Ohio State is on USC's schedule. You're not beating the Buckeyes. And you know who else you're not beating? Kurt Signetti and Indiana. And UCLA might be improved this year. You might not even win your rivalry game.
Go on the road.
USC is the most overrated team in college football. They're the most overrated team in this preseason poll. I've seen this movie before. I'm not buying another ticket. USC is the most overrated team in the top 25.
Definitely.
My underrateds, I actually love BYU as underrated. The metrics say that BYU is underrated. They finished 11th last year. Their only 2 losses were to one team. They're not playing that team this year. They bring everybody back for the most part, except in that receiver core. And what we're hearing from fall camp is they've got some tight ends that are probably going to be able to fill that hole. We got some receivers that are elevating. The defense is pretty much all back.
Yep.
I'm buying BYU stock in this, not just because we're in Utah. People around the country are talking about BYU. And you look at the schedule, there's an opportunity against Notre Dame to get a big win at home. That could be a top 10 team, a matchup that we're looking at in October. The schedule works out nicely for BYU to make a nice run, and this team could be definitely an underrated team. I agree with Texas Tech. I'm going to throw out one more. Indiana's an obvious underrated. How is Indiana ranked 6th coming off of that national championship and what they have coming back? They got 6 first-place votes, 8 first-place votes, yet they're 6th. There's a lot of people out there that are doubting Indiana. Doubt Kurt Cignetti at your own risk. This is a juggernaut program he's built. They're going to be just fine. They're going to be in the top 5 mix.
You talk to these boosters about giving some good money to ESPN for these ratings.
It's so the SEC bias is so baked into this. I think that they're sleeping even on a Big Ten team at number 6. But
that spot in the poll shows kind of the disparity in Indiana too. There are 8 first-place votes, but there's enough people that don't believe in them that's bringing them down.
I don't understand it. What else do they have to prove after the last 2 seasons that you're not buying Indiana as a contender for a national championship, at least higher than number 6? You'd be saying because those people voted them in the teens. If you got 8 first-place votes and you're 6, come on now. Everybody else, I do think Ole Miss is probably not the 9th best team in the country, but we'll see. I do like Trinidad Chambliss, but it feels like Lane Kiffin leaving and some of that
was a huge part
them.
of their success throughout
Ole Miss
the year.
in the top. I don't know if Ole Miss is not a top 25 team, but they're not a top 10 team. So I've got that there. Now my underrated team, nobody's talking about, is at number 17, and it's Washington. Jedd Fisch has got his thing going there now. I know the whole quarterback thing they had where he transferred and didn't. It was kind of messy. But Washington's got talent, and I'm looking at this and thinking, Washington's that Big Ten team in that mid-range that could go on a playoff run, not USC. So look out for Washington to finally make that push and get into the college football playoff out of the Big Ten. If you're looking for a team outside of Oregon and Ohio State and Indiana out of the Big Ten, I think it's Washington that could be there right on the fringe to be a 4th team from the Big Ten that gets into the college football playoff.
You think this team's going to play with this quarterback that wants to leave and come back and leave and come back?
He's been with the team the whole year. He gives them their best chance to win. Look, in today's day and age, Sly, I know this probably doesn't match with you because if this happened in your era where your quarterback bailed and wanted to go to BYU or something like that for more money, you're heck with it. But all these players in the same boat, they're all going to make the same decision. So if they had a chance to go in the transfer portal and get their money, they would do it. So are they going to fault this Washington quarterback now?
That's just the mindset.
That he attempted to do that? He's back. He's with the team. He's going to lead them. He's a really dynamic talent. And I like Washington's roster. They've got everything that you're looking for as one of those outside-looking-in playoff teams to look for.
Very true.
Utah could be that team, too. We don't know. I think there's enough doubt about Utah's O-line. We got to see it first before I'm ready to jump on Utah being one of these overrated or underrated teams. I got to see it first week 1. But I understand how people can make a case for Utah being overrated because it's a new coach in Morgan Scalley, a new offensive line. There's a lot of question marks about this team. If Dampier's healthy, how good can he be? But I'm not ready to make that judgment yet. But that's my underrated team is Washington. And, of course, I do throw Texas Tech and BYU in there. I think the Big 12 overall is underrated in this poll. So, all right, let's move on to BYU and Utah. And I thought this would be fun because you're looking at the season, and I think both BYU and Utah have dudes at quarterback. The stats back it up. Dampier healthy now, got some of those health issues taken care of. I think he's going to be a lot better this season. It's fun to look at it and say, which of these two is going to be better statistically this season? So, Sly, I'll start with you. Bear versus Devin, based on what we saw last year and based on your expectations this year, who's going to have a better statistical season across the board, which I guess you could say is measured by QBR?
Right. And it's overall input, right? In doing it, and you got to understand games that they're going to be leading, and so they'll have their backups in those games. I think I'm big on Bear Bachmeier. I absolutely love his talent. I'm huge on the sophomore slump. I don't know how many times I gotta say it. I'm huge on the sophomore slump. There's just a lot riding on his shoulders. Understanding the pressure, being able to handle the pressure of the teammates, of the community, of what everybody's putting on BYU, how they're being underrated and should be high. That's a lot of pressure to put on the quarterback. I think Utah, ranked at number 21, there's not as much pressure on that, which goes, of course, to your quarterback position. So for me, statistically, I think Julio's going to have the better year based on how much time they're going to have in the games from the teams that they play to getting their backups in and doing all this. I got Devin Dampier. The way he played in that Nebraska game, that's the Devin Dampier that we're going to see this year, and I cannot wait for it. Absolutely awesome. What he can do with his legs, the things that he opens up, what I've seen at practice thus far from Coach McGivin's office and the leniency that they're giving Devin because he's all in. He's a very committed guy, one at being a leader, but taking onus of the offense. So understanding what has to happen at the line of scrimmage, checking out of it, checking the other things, checking hot routes. The offensive line could be blocking, run blocking, and he can automatically check to an RPO by just a simple hand check to the receiver. He has that capability in his offense. I haven't been to a BYU practice, so I don't know if Bear Bachmeier has all of that, but Devin Dampier's been through a lot. We understand what he brings to the table, both injured and healthy. I just got him being a statistical monster this year, and he should be on a Heisman campaign for what his input is going to be and what Utah's output could be. You look at the game-to-game, right, what they could do when they get into October and they play Houston, they play BYU, and they go through November, what he can do. And then the other thing that gives me more praise for Devin Dampier in this scenario of back-to-back, and it's not easy, I think he has more talent around him.
Wow.
I think he has more talent around him. Now, BYU has talent. Don't get me wrong. They
got the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year in the backfield.
I agree with that. But what I've seen from Utah, what I understand that they have and how they're utilizing that talent from, Burt Franklin being a backup quarterback even, from Wayshawn Parker, what they're going to have for him, and the things that defenses are going to have to focus on is going to open up the things for Devin Dampier. And that's why I say giving him that carte blanche at the line of scrimmage is going to do wonders for him statistically this year.
You going to push back on that?
Yeah, I hope that's what we see from Devin Dampier this year. He was very exciting and very electric last season. I'm with Jeremiah in saying I still have to see it to believe it with this offensive line in front of him. And if they're not up to the task or up to the capability of what we saw last year on the O-line, I think that directly affects clearly what Devin Dampier can do. I have a lot of questions still with who's going to be catching the ball for him in the pass game. I do like Braden Pagan from Utah State. I think he's going to make a good transition coming over with the offensive coordinator, Kevin McGiven, as well. But just that, you got a new coordinator, a new offensive line. There's enough out there for me to hesitate a little bit on Devin Dampier, whereas down in Provo, you've got a mythical creature, a half-man, half-horse in the gosh dang centaur taking snaps at quarterback. And look, everything that they're saying about Bear Bachmeier and Provo, again, we're listening to what we're told at this point in the offseason. But Aaron Roderick saying he's throwing the ball better than he did last year. He's making quicker decisions than he did last year. He knows the playbook even better than he did last year. All of these things, the leadership that he exudes is even greater than it was last year, all as a true freshman kid who transferred in the middle of the summer, right? So you've got a guy who's been around the system for a year, who's been around the system for an entire offseason, and by all accounts is performing better than he ever was at this point last year. I would imagine that translates over to his game on the field. Plus, it doesn't hurt that he's got L.J. Martin in the backfield, taking some of that pressure off of him. I think Bear Bachmeier is probably a better rushing quarterback than even what we saw last year. He still was a 500-yard quarterback and 11 touchdowns as a rusher. And I am really excited about the talent he has to throw the ball to. I think there's going to be plenty of options for him to get the ball out, get it out quick, and have some great route runners and pass catchers on the offensive end too. So I'll take Bear Bachmeier, not by a lot, but I will take Bear Bachmeier over Devin Dampier?
I think we should wager this,
I think so too.
Let's do some push-ups, or
right.
somebody's got to bring in donuts. Something's got to happen at the end of the year for all of this.
Donuts sounds good. I'm all for that.
I was going to say, a push-up
Sly knows his
competition is
donuts,
not going to
trust
go well for me.
No, it's whoever loses has to do like 100 push-ups and get it done.
I'll do it for 100 donuts.
You're on. I like it.
I'll
Whoever loses has to.
I'll take the 100 push-up challenge. There you go.
Bingo.
You both made great cases, one for Devin Dampier, one for Bear Bachmeier. It's really interesting because if you look at the statistics, Bear Bachmeier threw for more than 500 yards than Devin Dampier last year. Mm-hmm. And the rushing stats are pretty close to the same thing. So if you're looking for an edge in rushing, Dampier had 835 yards rushing, which was a lot more than Dampier, but one less touchdown, so it kind of evens out. Where's the separator here between these two quarterbacks right now? The separator right here is touchdown to interception ratio. This is my biggest question or concern with Bear Bachmeier. 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions last year. That's almost, 2-1?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's not good enough. It's got to be 3-1.
3 of them came in the last 2 games of the year. It still counts.
It happened, right?
Yeah.
There was definitely, and there was some freshman moments for Bear Bachmeier throwing the football. Is he going to improve those freshman moments throwing the football? Yes, the yardage was there. The efficiency was not. Based on QBR, Devin Dampier was a higher rated quarterback last year. Dampier had an 84.4 QBR with all the injuries. Bears was 78.2. It's not a big gap, but based on QBR, which Kyle Whittingham raves about and a lot of coaches use as a measuring, Devin Dampier was statistically the better quarterback overall. You can pick and choose which stat you want to use to make that argument about who was better. Devin Dampier is healthy this year. If he stays healthy, and we get to see exactly what he's able to do healthy with, I think there's some upgrades in the pass game for Utah. I think Bert Ficklin might take some snaps away, which could hurt him statistically as well, on top of the games he missed last year. I think that was part of the gap with the yardage. I'm going to go with Dampier slightly statistically. That doesn't mean that he's going to be the better quarterback or that Bear isn't going to have a better season with leading BYU on a playoff run. I just think statistically, Devin, as a senior, more experienced quarterback with some of the weapons he has and healthy, is going to have a slightly better statistical season than Bear might. I still have question marks about who's Bear going to throw the ball to. Carson Ryan helped him a ton.
Yeah.
He had that tight end safety valve a lot, but how many of his passes were just in the short dink and dunk when he had to force the ball down the field? He did make some of those plays, but it didn't always end well for him. He's got to prove that he can throw the ball downfield more efficiently. And Devin has to do the same thing, to be quite honest, but you can attribute some of that to injury. The QBR says one was slightly better than the other last year. I'm going to go with that. Doesn't mean that one or the other is going to have the better season as a team, but I think that Dampier's set up to have a better statistical season based on how that offense is going to run, the amount of stats that offense is going to be able to put up, and how much BYU is going to ride LJ Martin.
Yeah.
As opposed to putting that pressure
Well,
squarely on
JJ,
Bear
looks
Bachmeier.
like we're going to get some donuts
It's
here.
going to be fun watching you do push-ups and me eating donuts in January.
I
Here
get
we
to
go.
do push-ups.
Yeah.
I don't have to do them.
But I will say, I think the gap is going to be like this.
Yeah, it's
Yes, it's
Bulls
going to be very tight.
are going to have phenomenal seasons. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We got to talk about the Jazz. We haven't talked about them for a little bit since Summer League. Our love affair with Darryn Peterson is still strong. My goodness, what a great player. Can't wait to see him on Jazz games this year. And we're going to get to see him more nationally, which is good for us here at KSL. We're really excited about this. We're going to have 4 Jazz games this season in prime time on Tuesdays here on KSL, which is awesome because, guys, this team is actually going to try to win games this year.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what that was like. I don't even feel like the last year of Donovan and Rudy was that much fun, right? That was kind of a weird season. How long has it been since we had fun watching the Jazz and felt like we could talk about the games instead of talking about tanking? This is exciting. So as we're looking at the schedule overall, just looking ahead, I mean, I'm not going to ask you guys to like break down the schedule or what,
82 games.
all these back-to-backs. No, nobody cares about that right now. But just looking overall, with what the Jazz have and the chance they have to compete for a playoff spot and to have a chance to actually run with some of the best teams in the league, what are you most excited about this Jazz season now that the schedule is out, besides Jazz having 4 games on NBC? How many times can I say that? The Jazz are on KSL 4 times this year. We're excited.
Add more to it.
We'll get to watch here. My biggest thing is Yes, as you said, looking at the schedule, you could do back-to-backs. How many away game road trips are they going to have? How many this and that? I don't think it really matters. My biggest thing that matters is their personnel, right? I think they have a good mix of veteran and young guys that can handle back-to-backs, young guys that can handle long road trips. And these guys are professional. You got guys with the mindsets of Darryn Peterson, Kobe mindsets. That's all you need, and that to radiate through your organization, man. So, yes, of course, as you said, we're not going to be talking about tanking coming up here for the Utah Jazz, which is exciting locally. I mean, the Utah market right now is absolutely terrific, right? From the Utah Mammoth to the Jazz, the Utes, the BYU Cougars, even Coach Kerr up there at Weber State. There's a lot of local things happening that is going to be Weber State. That's going to be absolutely terrific, man. So I'm more excited about the personnel going into the season that they can compete against some of these top teams. I think the Utah Jazz are going to surprise a lot of these good teams, right? The Oklahoma City Thunder, the San Antonio Spurs, the Lakers, all these other stuff that everybody's talking about. The Jazz are going to come and be winning these games because teams are going to come in and be like, oh, it's the Jazz, they're on tanking stuff. And they're going to forget, no, the Jazz are winning. Yeah. They ain't taking no crap from nobody. And so when we were talking about the Jazz a few years ago, when they had Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, you're talking about, they were top 3 in the league every year with those years. So I'm expecting Utah to get back to that promise and leading the Western Conference, or at least being one of the top teams, because they don't have that tanking narrative. They have the pieces that they need to win.
Well, what I love about the schedule, with it having that many nationally televised games, is it shows that, and I know there's teams out there that have more, I get it, there's the big market teams, and the Jazz could acquire more throughout the year if they keep winning, right? But what I love about it is it shows that there are other people out there, whether it's the networks or the league, teams, fans, that are aware that the Utah Jazz are actually building something that's going to be fun, that could be pretty special, and that is going to be very competitive and win a lot of basketball games this year. And so for me, that's what I'm certainly excited about. That's what comes with the excitement of a schedule release in an offseason like this, is that, yes, we do get to, or the Jazz fans do get to cheer for a team that's going to win games. That they get to watch a team that's going to be a lot more fun than it's been in the last few years. You know, you go back to the year 1 of Will Hardy, when Wemby was the prize in that offseason. And I know there's a lot of Jazz fans that wish maybe the Jazz would have tanked harder that year. But the way they started that year, surprisingly pretty good, I think that was just a glimpse of, okay, when they're barely trying, they can be a pretty good basketball team under Will Hardy. And now they've got all the tools. I think a date to keep in mind, maybe that first week of December by then, is when I think Darryn Peterson, if he's not already starting, he's in the starting lineup by then on a full-time basis. I think there's
I think he'll start the season.
Yeah, there's just so much to be excited about with this Utah Jazz team. They should be back in the playoffs. We talked about where we have them ranked in our Western Conference power rankings. Yeah. I think the Jazz are a playoff team.
You guys are both right. I can't wait to see how they fare against the contenders with the full roster, loaded roster, where they match up. I can't wait to see what Will Hardy can do with a team that isn't trying to tank.
Take the reins off Will Hardy, right?
Loaded with talent, because we hear how great of a coach he is, how much respect he has. What's he going to do with a great team? I can't wait to see that. You know what else I can't wait for? I can't wait until this season when fans come to the Delta Center and they're cheering for the Jazz. They're not there just to see another superstar.
Right.
They have something to be excited about. Yeah. When LeBron James and the Philadelphia 76ers come to town, people are coming to see the Jazz. They're not just coming to see LeBron. When Wemby comes to town, they're not coming to see Wemby. They're coming to see how the Jazz do against Wemby. Yeah. They're cheering the Jazz in a game that they believe this team can win. That's what I look forward to, is Utah Jazz fans getting energy once again and starting to care about this franchise again, getting back on board like it used to be. You got something now to cheer about. This team's going to be really good. You got a superstar in the making in Darryn Peterson. He's going to be phenomenal. Look at this lineup: Keontae George, Darryn Peterson. It goes on and on. Lauri Markkanen, Ace Bailey could be. He could be a star. We don't know. Like, this team has so much talent, and we get to see, finally, you get to see Triple J out on this team, out on the floor with this team. That's a guy that was a Defensive Player of the Year and an All-Star. What if he gets back to that form? This Jazz team could be really good, and fans have something now to be really excited about. And how long has it been since you've had something to be really excited about when it comes to the Utah Jazz?
Yeah,
a home Jazz basketball game is still the most electric environment of sports in this state. I don't care if they were good or bad in the past. You still pack that place. And now, just going along with what you said, they have something to cheer for. That place is going to be
How's
electric.
Utah fans going to be?
I had a debate with a little conversation with our producer Tanner a few weeks ago about
he loves to debate.
about throwing a parade for a sports team that had won a championship here in Utah, a smaller tier sports team. And I said, there's only one parade that matters in this state, if and when it'll ever happen, and that's the Utah Jazz Championship Parade. You can roll a Stanley Cup down Main Street, and that'll be amazing if the Mammoth ever win. But there's really only one parade that will ever matter, in my opinion, and that's if the Jazz get that parade.
Because we've waited almost 50 years
it's been
for it to
forever.
happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm circling that February 27th date against AJ DeBonta here at the Delta Center. So I know a lot of Utah
fans coming in. Who are BYU fans going to cheer for?
That's going to be a hot ticket. So that's going to be absolutely who you're going to cheer for, right? You're cheering for AJ or you're cheering for your Jazz. And so that's going to be an absolutely dominant matchup between Darryn Peterson and AJ DeBonta.
Just look how excited we are talking about it right now.
Season
the last time
started.
we had an exciting conversation
No
about a Jazz season. Can't wait for it to get started. Can't wait for our next segment. We're going to have a conversation with McKay Hilsted, Utah State's old-new starting quarterback, why he went back to Logan after this. McKay Hilsted joins us now on the front row, the starting quarterback for the Utah State Aggies. How does that sound when I say that?
Sounds good. Sounds real good.
I bet 3 years ago, did you think this was possible? 2 years ago?
No, probably not. I mean, I remember thinking, BYU was going to be my last stop when I transferred there the first time, but to be back up here, I'm excited and ready for the opportunity.
Take us through the whole story. How did it, unfold and come about that ultimately led you back here to Logan?
Yeah, I think ultimately just after the season last year, in the bowl game prep, I was just thinking a lot about whether I wanted to enter the transfer portal or not. And then once I decided, I think it was pretty straightforward. I had my first visit was here, kind of on that opening weekend for transfer portal visits, and I came and I met with Coach Mendenhall, met with the staff, and I was like, yeah, there's no place I'd rather be. So, yeah.
No reason why you can't come back home. Aggie fans are thrilled to have you back. But this is a completely different staff, a completely different team. Mm-hmm. What was it about Coach Mendenhall and Coach Anai and the players here that sold you on coming back?
Yeah, I think the team culture was something that Coach Mendenhall emphasized very heavily when I was visiting here. And it's hard to say exactly what the team's going to look like when you're on a visit, but the guys that I did interact with, super positive, and the coaches, great coaching staff. I love Coach Johns, who's the quarterback coach, and some of the people that I was able to interact with over the course of the visit, Coach and I, really made it feel like this was home, and super excited to be up here.
Bronco said Coach Anai's offenses generally take on the identity of his starting quarterback. How would you describe that identity of this offense with Coach Anai?
Yeah. It's kind of a tough question, I'd say, because I focus on being good at a lot of things, and I think that's what the offense will be. I think we'll be super versatile. We'll do a bunch of different things as far as RPO game, running the ball, deep shots, just your regular drop back stuff. And I think that we're going to be super versatile, and we're going to be able to do a lot of things really well.
You look at Coach Anai's track record and the quarterbacks that he's had that he's been able to work with, from John Beck to Taysom Hill. The guys at UVA, there's a lot of talented quarterbacks he's worked with. Mm-hmm. What have you seen with those guys and how they got better in his offense?
Coach and I's offenses are super explosive. Quarterbacks throw for a lot of yards, or they run for a lot of yards. I think Taysom, for example, ran for a lot of yards, but Brennan Armstrong at UVA had the most passing yards in the season. So I think it varies, and I think Coach and I does a really good job of kind of what you described of. He knows what the quarterback does well, and he calls those plays. And I think that it'll be cool to see what form that takes. I think we're going to see a little bit more I'm going to see a little bit more exactly what Coach and I's planning on doing for the offense in fall camp, and then obviously the season will be when the scene explodes. So,
yeah. Outside of your personal strengths, what are the strengths of this offense?
Yeah, I'm biased, obviously, because I'm around these guys, and I love all of our players, but I don't think that there's really a weak point. And I think that, if that answers your question, I think our receivers are very strong. Our running backs, we have a super solid group in our O-line. We have a bunch of guys that work extremely hard and are super physical, can go in the weight room, I mean, they're putting up a lot of weight, and I think we have everything that we need to be super successful this season, and very well-rounded group of guys on offense.
We talked to Bronco Mendenhall, and he admitted that the offensive line's performance last year was not good enough. What have you seen this year? What are you seeing in the off season as those guys try to get better, because they all came back?
Yeah, I think obviously I wasn't here last year, but I think that there's guys that I've communicated with that were on the offensive line group, and I think just their dedication. I mean, those guys put in a ton of extra work, and they're developing their skills. And then as far as this period where coaches haven't been around, they've been focused intensively on the scheme of our offense. And, we came in spring ball, Coach and I came in, introduced the new offense. And with that, you got to know some of the rules, what you got to do. And they've studied extensively those things, and I think they're super ready for fall camp in the season. So
I'm curious to get your perspective. As a player who had been here before and is now returning, how has the narrative changed, if at all, with the Utah State joining the Pac-12?
Yeah, I think it's a new era, and I think everyone's excited about it. I think you're hearing about it on campus, and you're hearing about it amongst in the locker room, just amongst guys. And I think it's a really good opportunity for Utah State to show what we're made of, not only football, but pretty much every single sport. And I think we're going to be super successful, and I think it's going to be a great start to a new era.
How exciting is the schedule for you? The teams you're going to get to play this
season.
No,
I'm super excited. I think our first away games, Washington and Utah, I mean, those are great environments. I've been in that Utah environment before. It's a super loud stadium, and the fans are super passionate. And I think about it as big stadium. There's big games. I can't think of really any other place that I'd rather be. Just big stage, and really be able to show as many people what the work we've put in, and then what we're made of. So, good opportunity.
Talking about those environments, what makes game day environment at Maverick Stadium special?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anyone that has a student section like we do. When I was here, the student section was completely packed every single game, and I know going to the basketball games, it's a ruckus and just making a lot of noise. And the opposing team is right in front of our student section, so that's a competitive advantage for us as well. And we have a lot of great fans and people that are passionate about Utah State football, and they come to the games every week. And especially that student section, I think that they make a lot of noise, and they care about us, and they want us to win the game, and that ultimately helps us at that cause. So,
you're one of the greatest high school quarterbacks in Utah State history. I remember seeing you play as a sophomore. I was like, who is this kid? My gosh, running all over the place, throwing bombs. You could do it all, and you obviously have a chance now to do that on this level in this university. But the fact that you're a Utah kid, how much does that matter to you, and what you accomplished at Skyridge and what you want to accomplish here?
Yeah, I think, being able to stay in the state of Utah throughout the course of my college football career has been a cool thing. I think you're a little bit more, Logan's a little further from Utah County than Provo was, but I think that people saw your impact in high school, or the things that you've done. You're a little bit more well-known. I think it's cool because people have seen what you were able to do at that level. And following
you since you were 15 years old. I mean, there's some pressure that comes with that too, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and to kind of see how it translates, and I think it's a really, really cool thing, cool opportunity for me. And you talk about being broadcasted, Skyridge and all that stuff, and we were a pretty solid team and ended up winning state, and ultimately that's my goal here, is go to the Pac-12 championship and take it over.
So how would that feel to win a state championship in high school and win a conference championship in college?
I mean, I don't know. Is there any better feeling? I don't think so. So that's the goal.
And how much do you embrace that challenge of playing in this conference and winning? It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
You look around and there's some good programs in this conference, and they're going to step things up. How is the bar raised now that you're making this move to the Pac-12?
Yeah, obviously the competition is going to be better as in comparison to what it was in the Mountain West, and I think that for that reason, I think we just got to take it head on. And I think all the preparation that we've done and the action that we've taken over the course of the off season and in the camp that we've had is really going to aid us in those difficult games that we're going to face this season.
Why not the Aggies? Why not you guys?
Why not?
This conference is wide open. You guys can win this thing. Yeah, there's Boise State, UNLV stepped up, but why not McKay, Hilsted, and the Aggies? Can't wait to see what you guys can do in this new and exciting conference. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Time to have a little fun with a this or that segment. This week, This or that NFL wide receiver edition.
Let's do it.
We'll start with Sly. This or that, Mike Evans or Malik Neighbors?
Oh, that's tough because I feel like they're two different types of receivers, but I'm going to go Mike Evans.
Sam, Mike Evans or Davante Adams?
Give me Davante Adams, especially in the red zone.
All day.
Yeah.
Even this late in his career, he's up there in the top
Mike.
10.
Oh, yeah.
Davante Adams, Sly, or A.J. Brown?
Oh, Davante Adams. Davante Adams.
Davante Adams or Nico Collins, Sam?
I still like Davante Adams here.
Same.
With Matt Stafford especially.
Adams continues to climb. Adams or George Pickens?
Oh, Adams.
Davante
Adams.
Pickens had a
ladder.
monster year.
There's no deliberating here. Let's go.
All right. Adams or CeeDee Lamb?
Ooh, CeeDee Lamb. I like Adams' situation better, so I'm going to stick with Davante. I like the Rams situation.
Davante pushing for a top 5 here. Adams or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Gosh. Ooh, I love me some Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's just so tough, man. So receivers, hands, this and that. We're talking about right now, not as a whole. I'm going to go Amon-Ra. I'm going to switch it up. Amon-Ra is, again, this is going on my Jared Goff little bit here, but Amon-Ra.
I like that pick.
Amon-Ra's got a top 5 spot.
I like that pick.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam, or Puka Nacua?
Puka is a top 2 wide receiver in the league, so I'm taking Puka.
Top 2, says Sam. So Puka moves on. Puka or Jackson Smith and Jigba, Super Bowl champion?
And they were 1
There's
and 2
possibly
last
your
year.
other receiver.
They were 1 and 2
That's
last
what I
year.
was about to say.
Again, we're going with situation, and I think that the quarterback is going to make Puka better than JSN. So,
Whoa!
Yes, as much as you can love JSN, and we love him from Ohio State, but I think the situation, I'm a huge Matt Stafford fan.
Utah loves Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, a huge Matt Stafford fan and what he can do. So I'm taking Puka.
Okay, Puka moves on, or Justin Jefferson?
I still like Puka. I still think him and Jackson Smith and Jigba are going to be the top
Justin
2 receivers this year.
Jefferson.
Now you're going to go him
Bold,
and Jamar
Sam.
Chase. Watch this next one.
Okay, this is it, our final round. Puka or Jamar Chase?
I knew it was coming. Man, and big Joey B fan too. Oh, Puka or Jamar Chase. Man, the versatility of Puka is just absolutely terrific in what you can do from the blocking, right? Mm-hmm. The route running, the blocking, and personnel-wise, and what you're setting the offense up as. Jamar Chase is just a monster. I'm going to go with Puka. We stay in Puka. We stay at home.
Puka wins.
Yeah.
No Utah bias here
The
at
game
all.
plans that I can devise with a Puka Nacua, just bar none. Don't matter your defense.
Puka Nacua or Cortland Sutton? Cortland Sutton.
Broncos fan chimes in. Maybe Jalen Waddle this year.
Jalen Waddle.
All right. So that's our top 10. That list in order was based on execs, coaches, and scouts ranking the top wide receivers.
Nice.
With ESPN. So that's where we got the list. And Puka is our winner. You can tell us if we were right or wrong. All right. When we come back, we're going to have a little fun. We're not allowed to say the number we'll talk about next because of some legal issues, but we'll discuss that story next.
Too much has been said.
One of the funniest, most interesting stories, depending on your perspective, that came out this week was when Jayden Daniels' group, his people, sent a cease and desist letter to LSU because they were using the number 5 jersey without his name, I guess you could say, consent.
Right.
It was a legal move about name, image, and likeness, and they were upset that DJ Pickett, a sophomore cornerback, was wearing number 5 because they believed that belonged to Jayden Daniels. Of course, internet went to work and they had their fun.
Did their thing.
And now all of a sudden, Jayden Daniels has been a punchline all week, and I'm sure he's thrilled about that. A lot of people making sure they didn't use the number 5. Maybe I shouldn't even say that here. Without consent from
F-I-V-E.
Jayden Daniels. So
Cinco.
let's look at some of the funny social media memes that were created out there to make fun of this Jayden Daniels situation. Let's throw them up on the Big Mo. What do we got first here? Columbia football. has erased the
He's at the
5-yard
line.
line
The 8,
out of
the
respect
7. He's going,
to
skip
Jayden Daniels.
the 4, the 3.
Roar, Lion, roar. Okay.
Well done.
That's really good.
Creative.
The Mets stopped at 4 out of respect for Jayden Daniels.
They also stopped at 4 wins out of respect for Jayden Daniels.
Oh, says Mets fan. I'm so sorry, Sam. Hey, they're playing better lately.
Yankees love that.
All right, what do we got next? All right, May 5th will now be recognized nationally as Cinco de Mayo in honor of Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels. Oh, wow.
One of my favorite holidays, too. Oh, goodness.
The mustache.
That's great.
Oh, man.
That's great.
Great.
Well done. He's at the 30, the 20, the 10. The Jayden Daniels touchdown, Jameer Gibbs.
They got the TM
It's
by the
trademarked.
trademark.
Oh, my gosh. His mother approves.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a Jayden Daniels gain on 3rd down. All right, do y'all think Jayden Daniels would be okay with me throwing my son a 5th birthday party,
No.
asking for a friend?
Hold off till next year.
Yeah.
Play it safe.
Probably need to skip year number 5.
It'll be
there,
all right. He'll have
Emily.
more birthdays.
All right, and what do we have here? National Park Week starts in 4 days. We were going to announce this yesterday, but out of respect, we waited. This is from the U.S. Department of the Interior. This is an official government tweet.
Hey,
Hey, look, the Buffalo only had 4 cabs,
out of
too.
respect, we'll wait. That's great. I like this one. This one a lot.
That's pretty good. Is that all we had, Tanner? Are we done? That's it. That's a great way to end it.
Yeah.
Even the government,
Oh, yeah.
even the U.S. government got involved this week. So that was a lot of fun.